You're listening to the Full 10 Yards of Britball podcast with your host, Timothy Lambert-Monk. Yes, welcome in, one and all. This is the Full 10 Yards Britball podcast. Glad to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. We're changing our tact a little bit today from our usual podcast. And as you can see, we've got two lovely ladies as you're looking, I suppose, to the right of me and below me. And we'll get to those very shortly. But if you do like any of our content that we put out, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. But yeah, today's podcast is all about the women's game. We're going to give the women's game some love, and obviously some of the people in it as well. As you can see, to my right, we've got Phoebe Schecter, and below me, we've got Laura Dye. Phoebe, welcome you in first. Honoured to have you on. I was looking through your Instagram earlier, and I mean, we could spend a whole day talking about what you've done and what you currently do and whatnot. But obviously flying the flag as one of the first NFL female coaches with the Buffalo Bills. But you're GB American football captain, England kabaddi captain. I don't even know what kabaddi is. I'm sure you can tell me what that is as well. But absolutely honoured to have you on. Welcome in.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad we finally got to make this work. It was awesome seeing what you've done with Laura in the past. So I was excited to be able to actually get the three of us here to talk together. So I'm excited for our conversation and of course, supporting the women's game. Yeah,
absolutely. And so you two seem to have known each other for years and years. I'm excited to learn how you obviously crossed paths, and obviously Team GB has a lot to do with that. But Laura, obviously welcome you in. One of our you're enrolled in the flying the flag scheme that we have here at the Full 10 Yards, and obviously you're taking the first footsteps towards to coaching. Welcome you in. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me. I think this is really cool. But thank you for paying for me level one. I literally, like I said to you, I literally put my details in just randomly, and next minute you were like, "Yeah, I'll pay for it for you." Cool.
Congratulations! So we love sending the congratulations email here at the Full 10 Yards. The congratulations is one of the perks of the job. Sending that out. I know. I keep chasing you up to see if you've had your practical test yet, and you assure me obviously that's still to come. There's obviously a bit of a backlog, but I'm sure you'll tell us the moment you've passed, and I'm sure 100% in my heart know that you'll pass, and you'll be well on your way into your coaching career. But we'll get into that in a bit shortly about where you want to go as your playing days, and maybe going towards the back end of the back nine, as they say. But Phoebe, we'll come to you first. Like I say, you obviously trailblazing in so many different facets of loads of different sports. But I read the other day, prior to sending the rundown out, that you actually got into American football because you actually wanted to expand your social circle. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just moved here from the States and I was working within horses. So it's kind of similar in a lot of ways because it's 24/7. I was working 6 days a week for this awesome guy who's now the coach of the Dutch Olympic team with 3-day eventing. And really, I just wanted to get a bit of a taste of home as well as meeting new people. So when I saw an ad for American football on Facebook in Manchester, it was like the worlds had aligned and I just knew I had to, even though I'd never played a contact sport before. I always say when you're out of your comfort zone, you're so much more willing to take risks. And for me, that one decision changed my entire trajectory.
You have to. I hope you have a book or a memoirs released at some point, because I'd love to read. So you've got more than enough filler to fill all those pages. But Laura, have you got anything that beats that? How did you get into the sport? Did you find a post on on Facebook and trot down to your local venue?
No, actually, I was at Liverpool Pride, and if completely honest, never expected it. I was walking down a street in Liverpool, and there was a group of women walking towards me in full American football gear, with gay pride flags and gay pride socks. And a lady came up to me and gave me a flyer and was like the page on Facebook. And little did I know until like a week later that she was actually the GM and the quarterback, Amanda Staples, of the Chester Romans ladies team. And the rest is literally history.
Oh man, but I love those. So you say you're literally walking down the street, and then boom, American football hits you right in the face.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're down as here as an offensive line. Any particular reason why you took to offensive line over maybe defensive line, or? Yeah.
Phoebe knows this wasn't my choice. I didn't pick offensive line. Offensive line picked me. Right.
There we go.
Because when I played at Chester Romans, we only played the 5-a-side format. So there was only one offensive line, and I couldn't snap, so that was me out. And then I was middle linebacker for my first season. Had a bit of running back as well. It was only when I went to our Diamond Series that year and played the 11-a-side format that we used to run, that when I went with the linebackers, the offensive line coach literally came over to the linebacker group and went, "Which one of you's Laura Dye?" And took me away. And that was the last time I got to play defense.
Nice. Yeah. And Phoebe, I've got you down here as linebacker. Any particular reason or any draw for a linebacker position? You just like running the length of from side to side of the pitch and laying the wood down on someone?
Yeah, actually, I started at quarterback because of my American accent. Although there is no skill attached with that. Like, I could not throw, but we really didn't have anyone else either. So I started, and then who ended up being our national program quarterback, Joe Kilby, she joined the program, and our head coach at the time was like, "Look, she's really good. We're going to have to find another position for you on this team." And I'd already had probably too much of an enjoyment out of the contact element of the sport. So like, why don't we just try you at linebacker, see what happens? I remember doing my first ever like box drill. And for me, that was it. I had no idea what I was doing, but I totally fell in love with it. And I was like, I just find someone who has the ball and hit them. Like, this is awesome. Why would I not want to?
Absolutely. And as I say, the women's side of the game, especially in this country, doesn't get too much exposure. And there's probably not many people out there, including myself. I mean, I'm a total rookie. I know like tiny bits about the American the women's game. But Laura, just maybe want to give a bit of insight into anyone watching or any females out there on, how the women's side of the game operates from year to year. Has COVID been made things any different from this year compared to previous years?
Yeah, so I could be wrong with the history of how the tournaments were set up. So Phoebe can correct me, but I think this year, because of COVID, we're just doing similar to the men's. We're just doing like regional leagues, but unlike the men's games where they just have like one game every other Sunday or Saturday or whatever, we actually play a tournament. So like this weekend coming, we should be playing 2 games. Like the 4 weeks back, we played 2 games. And we have 4 tournaments over the season, I think. And then pre-COVID, I think we used to have 4 tournaments and then like a bowl weekend, like a finals weekend. But I don't think they're doing that this year. But yeah, I think this year we've got 4 weekend tournaments.
Okay. Phoebe, anything to add on that?
No, I mean, you nailed it. And I mean, for us, I think what's been really cool, Laura and I have really been doing this kind of since the beginning. And I think just to see the growth of it and how many more teams, we started as pretty much one league or whatever you want to call it, and we'd all have to play each other around the country. But actually, it's now grown where you've got a Div 1 or a Div 2, a North, a South. I mean, all these things are just proof of how many people are really falling in love with the sport. So it's always great to see that.
And again, excuses the naivety and the dumbing down of the women's game. You say obviously you play 2 games. Is that both on the same day? Is it still a 60-minute game? Is it short? And again, just to kind of give insight for maybe any girls out there watching that think, oh, like, I don't fancy playing 2 games back to back, or I do fancy playing 2 games back to back.
So I think it's 2 games on one day, and it's 20-minute halves.
Right. Okay.
I could be wrong with the time because the time just flies on game day.
Yeah, it does. And it's actually not, you think 2 games. It's not like it's 2 11-a-side games where you've also got special teams and, there are no special teams. It's literally just offense and defense. So it goes quite quickly. And you still, you usually have a break in between. So you don't actually feel that exhausted. You know what I mean? I mean, if you really break it down, you're probably only playing for 20 minutes on offense or on defense, right? So it's not so bad.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I say, if anyone watching or anyone listening on podcasts, I say we can get Laura and Phoebe to give out their socials if you want to find a bit more information. Find those Facebook posts and make the rest history, as to coin a phrase earlier in the podcast. Yeah, Laura obviously signed up to our Find the Flag scheme, obviously taking first steps into coaching. Obviously talking to you prior to pressing the record button, you find a lot more enjoyment. You feel like you get a lot more out of, even the early stages of helping others. What kind of drew you to, at what point did you think, okay, I'm going to try coaching? Was there a particular day or injury, dare I say, because that obviously generally mainly drives people to the coaching side of things. But what kind of drew you to coaching? Any particular aspect of the coaching side that you are looking to kind of fulfill?
I think for me, it become a point where I have had a couple of big injuries over recent years, which have taken a lot of time out of my own like normal life, which I'm fine with. Like football pretty much comes first a lot of the time. But I think with the, and everyone probably says it, with the pandemic and everything like that, I had a lot of time last year to sort of reevaluate what I was doing. Not necessarily football related, but like more like my own career and things like that. And alongside with that, me and Phoebe had a video call one night and we had a chat. And then I also had a chat with Coach Laura Moore, who's at Uni of Notts as well. So, and just talk to them about because both of them are obviously doing so much coaching, and I'm seeing it on the internet, and I've seen them coach in person, and they've both coached me at some point. And I just sort of came to them and was like, this is what I'm feeling. Help me. Help me make that decision. I think it was Phoebe was like, you've already made the decision.
Yeah.
So just stick with it. And then I think it wasn't not long after that you put your post up about the coaching and paying for the level 1. And like I said before, I literally just filled the form and didn't think anything of it until he emailed me a couple of weeks later. And then I was like, okay, so that is something telling me that this was meant to be. So,
yeah,
and here
absolutely.
we are.
Yeah, no, I love it. And Phoebe, when Laura obviously came to you, obviously, pondering whether or not to go into coaching, and as someone who's been in her shoes, what was your advice to Laura? And again, what advice would you give her going forward as someone who's kind of reached the pinnacle of coaching, experiencing a taste of the NFL with Buffalo?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is, and Laura's being really humble about this, but I've had the honor of playing with Di, we call her, for years now, and she's overcome some pretty immense injuries that a lot of people probably never would have even tried to do. They would have just taken a step back and left, but she was able to turn herself around in a year and go and play for GB, and her resilience is unbelievable. And even apart from that, her people skills, as someone on the team that I've been able to play with, she is always the one that all the players feel comfortable with and they go to, and they absolutely love her. So when it came to coaching, and we had talked about it, and again, just being friends, like Laura said, the way that she was speaking with me, she'd already made the decision, but sometimes you just need that external source who's a friend or, able to be non-biased with you, because it might be hard if you talk to your teammates. They might be like, no, keep playing. You're the biggest, best, fastest, strongest player on our team. Why would we want to lose you? But actually what you gain when you get Coach Laura now as your coach is massive, because she brings all those skill sets and experience as a player into the coaching realm. So it's, at this point now, it's just building up that confidence. And I think for any young coach, the biggest thing is just getting experience and learning what it's like, learning, we all make mistakes. Now, how do we correct them here? And that's okay. The bottom line has to be, it's okay to be wrong, but if we're accountable for our actions and we admit that we're learning, then we'll be all right. And I think that's a really great quality that Di has. So I've no doubt that she'll be successful in her coaching career.
Coach Laura,
Thanks,
that sounds good, doesn't it?
Coach Guy sounds better.
Yeah, it does. He does indeed. And I'll call, excuse me. I'll call you Coach for the rest of the podcast. How about that? And any obviously, I know you've just taken kind of the first kind of steps into the coaching sphere, but any particular aspirations that you have from a coaching standpoint? Do you have anything as high as trying to get to anything in the NFL, or is it maybe putting it back into the Britball game here in this country with the Lions? Any particular aspirations from a coaching standpoint for you?
Is that for me or Phoebe?
That is for Laurie. Yeah, it's for Laura.
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought you were talking to Phoebe still. Well, thanks, Phoebe. You said loads of nice things in. That's going to make me feel really awkward later. So.
Love it.
Thank you. So I think for me, like what Phoebe was saying there is because I'm so the beginning of this like journey, if you like, and it's like I feel like, and I've been speaking to loads of people, I just feel like a bit of a sponge at the minute. You're just taking so much in from people who've done it a lot longer than you, and I've learned from other coaches or whatever they've done. So I think for me at the minute, it's important to like gain that experience by learning off programs that are near me, which is why I approached the Merseyside Nighthawks and I'm coaching there. But I think for me, the big goal would be to actually skip America and go to Canada. I'd love to go coach out there. I've been following a lot of their programs since me and Phoebe played there in Canada a couple of years ago. So it's always something that sort of caught my eye. But I think if I can't go that far, I really like the Munich Cowboys setup that they've got in Germany. Like the men's team, the DC is a female, and she's been playing for 15 years or something. So I think I would love to go there. I'm got this close to messaging her on Instagram and asking.
Do it.
But I definitely will do once I get into a position where I understand a little bit more about things. So I don't want to turn up and be like, hey, I'm new here. Yeah. I want to, bring something to them as well. So I think if I can't go to Canada, I'd like to go to Germany for a bit.
Yeah, and that segues us actually quite nicely onto kind of the international game and the GB Lions. Phoebe, tell us a bit about kind of where the women's game at GB Lions, where they are compared to kind of other countries in Europe and around the world. Because let's say people might be a bit more familiar with the men's tournament where they kind of sit. And tell us where the state of the women's game from a GB Lions standpoint and how they compare to the rest of the rest of the world.
Yeah, so in 2019, we competed in the European Championships. It was a round robin tournament, so the kind of way that it was all seeded at the end doesn't always necessarily make sense. But we ended up basically being in third, but really in comparison, we beat the number one seed. So in our heads, we're number one in Europe. Yeah. That's all that matters. Yeah. But when it comes to worldwide, we were sitting fourth. So you've got USA, Canada, and Mexico, and then ourselves. But in 2022, we will have the World Championships, where it's really a reevaluation of where everyone sits after that. I mean, this year we're really lucky in terms of we've kind of had an entire organization rebrand, literally in the sense of British American football, but mainly for us as GB women. We've got a really exciting progressive head coach named Chris Stone, who's come involved with the program over here. And we have the most diverse coaching staff the UK has ever seen. Coach Dye is on it as well as one of our coaches. So, I mean, not too shabby, already on the national program coaching. But, we just got so much experience. We've got new ways of thinking. We've got fresh blood into it. So for us, I know it's something that we're really looking forward to, and we're really excited to see what we can achieve with this new kind of life that's been injected into us.
Sure. And just to recall, was that 2019 onward? Was that one in Leeds? Was that Birmingham? That was on one here, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm thinking of the same time. I remember watching a bit of that. I do remember. Yeah, Jesus, was that 2019? 2 years ago?
I
Jesus
know.
Christ.
Crazy.
Jesus Christ. There we go. But yeah, obviously, just talking about just a bit more about your journey, Phoebe. Obviously, you with Buffalo, that kind of the opportunity came in form of an internship. Is that kind of how we get more people in this country to get onto teams, either in this country or, like say, in Canada, or we need to be providing more opportunities for all types? It's unfortunate we're still in an era where women getting big jobs is still stigmatized. It drives me absolutely crazy. But to try and destigmatize that, is it? Are we looking from BAFA's point of view to get internships, to get opportunities for women to have more opportunities to get to where you've gotten to?
Yeah, that's definitely the end goal, right? So it makes it much clearer in terms of building the processes in order to get there. But even if you're looking at just for any minority, which technically Brits fall under because we're not in the US and it's not our first sport, then internship is really the way to go. You have to think there's only 32 teams. There's only X amount of staff on those teams. It's going to be competitive, and you're competing with everybody in the world. Yes, the US, but you've got people that are looking to get involved worldwide. So there are definite pathways there for females now that are in place with the it's the NFL Careers Forum, essentially is what we call it. That's an annual event. At the moment we have 12 different coaches, whether it's strength conditioning, on-field coaching, scouting, that are involved with teams. So slowly it's building, and then it's just going to be consistent, and it won't be such a big deal anymore. If there's a female on the staff, it's just, okay, you're a coach and you happen to be a woman. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, as BAFA, we absolutely want to be getting more opportunities. And even with the new kind of agreement that we have with the CFL, that doesn't have to just apply to our players, right? We can definitely apply that and want to apply that with our coaches and create opportunities. That's something that we want more and more people to do, is get out and go shadow. And, I'd say from my own experience, I did, I paid off my own back to go out to the States and be with Rich Wurzel and Oscar Rodriguez for 2 weeks in California. You just stay on one of their couches. And that for me was the best experience because it showed me that's what I really wanted to do. But I'd say for any coach looking to get involved and get to a higher level or make it a full-time job, go out somewhere and experience that, because sometimes it looks great on paper and you're like, yeah, it's really cool, I get to be a coach full time. But without understanding what the day in and day out needs of the job are, it's not always that straightforward.
No. And Laura, for you, say with the hardest part being the personal grind of reaching out to people and going and getting your name out there, was it a kind of a draw for you that it is quite simple just to say when you look at qualifications you need is you just need to start with a BAFA level 1 with some other prerequisites? Was it quite easy for you to make that decision when you did switch to say, I only need X, Y, and Z to then be able to put my name out there? Was the lack of hurdles or the height of the hurdles, another reason why you felt drawn to coaching?
Yeah, so obviously I've heard about the level 1 and level 2 throughout the whole playing career, but never really looked into it until last year anyway. So I found that, I think even with the pandemic, they've probably made things a bit easier with Zoom and all of that, because a lot of the material you can do exactly how we're doing now, obviously apart from the practical. So it definitely does help. I think the only thing I'd say with my own personal opinion is that just because you've got a piece of paper, you can't really call yourself a coach because you've got a piece of paper. So for me, I like recently I was doing research into like soccer and the coaching qualifications that their coaches have to go through. Obviously, I know that their sport is a lot more progressed than ours, and BAFCA will catch up at some point. But even to get their level 1, it was like X amount of shadowing hours, X amount of planning, a progression report, things like that. So I think that obviously that's something that BAFCA will build over time, right? But I think I mentioned this to Phoebe last time we talked about this, but I think it would be cool if BAFCA could bring in like a mentorship program, having a mentor that you work under and shadow for so long, and then bring that knowledge back to the women's game. That'd be cool.
Yeah. And we do have those people in place who want to be mentors, which is great. And now really what we need to do is just put out who wants to actually be mentored. We don't I think we need to have a better way of tracking our young coaches. And I mean, not even just young coaches, just any coach needs a mentor, right? I've got a few different mentors that you can never stop learning. So I think for us as BAFCA, we really need to be much more active in that and get our list together to start actually pairing people up.
Yeah. And would you say, Phoebe, that's kind of the hurdle that's currently in place to stop the women's game from, and in the women coaching from getting to the next level and say getting up there with, well, obviously not to the levels of USA and Canada because they're well established and it's the way that game's already set up. But would you say that things like mentorship or at least making everyone aware that it is so accessible is that kind of the next key goal then for BAFCA and the game?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, Laura said it before, that half of it is going to be your experience. Are you willing to go and put yourself out there and learn? Just be a fly in the wall, observe, maybe a team will allow you to develop. But for us, even in the States, there are no real qualifications. There's just experience. Your CV is what gets you a job. So the more people you can be around, the more people you can learn from, and then slowly identify what your method is, take pieces from everybody to create your own identity. Well, that's what's going to make you a good coach, because you've seen a lot, and now you have confidence in yourself going forwards too.
Sure, absolutely. Laura, I think reading between the lines, I think there's a spot open on Phoebe's couch if you want to go and take it. And
all the time.
All the time. Anybody is welcome out here. And the irony is that after this weekend, so Nadine, who is the DC at Munich, depending on who wins this weekend, if it's Allgäu or Munich, we play the winners. So if Munich wins, we're playing them in the quarterfinals in 2 weeks.
So Phoebe, is Germany on the green list
green
yet?
List. Yeah, we're on the green list. Yeah.
I told you.
Come on out.
Right. I'll talk to you after this.
Yeah.
I'd love to meet Nadine.
Oh yeah, come on out. She's so great. Cool.
And I must know. I know we've mentioned it a few times as we've been going through the podcast. How did you two first meet? Where did you? Was it a Team GB game? Was it walking down Liverpool High Street during Pride? And
it must have been at one of the diamond practices.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I remember about you, Phoebes, I think one of the first times you sat next to me in classroom, you had your phone out and you were taking pictures of my quad size compared to yours.
Yeah.
And I was like, hello. And I think that's one of my first vivid memories. I mean, the rest is probably on the field. I've probably tried to catch her on a second level block a number of times. But yeah, that's one of the first memories that I really remember.
Yeah, that's about right. So to be clear, I'm almost 5'4", and Di, you're 6 foot. What now?
Like 1 or 2 if I stand up properly.
Yeah. So our limb length is not quite equal, but that's the cool part about football. You get people of all different heights and sizes playing. But no, I'd say that was pretty accurate in terms of our first time meeting at the development day. And then we got to share captaincy together, which was really cool. And we like it too, because I'm 16 and Di 61. So, we get to stand next to each other. We got the same kind of numbers in there. So we've, I feel very fortunate that we've been able to play with each other for so long now.
Yeah, love it. And let's say, Laura, I'm sure Phoebe echoes the sentiments. I'm very excited to see where you kind of end up a couple of years down the line. I'd love to have you on the podcast and say, oh, I've coached in Canada, or I'm coaching in Canada, or X, Y, and Z. So can't wait to see kind of where your journey goes. And say glad to even be help you get on that first step. But before we round off, Phoebe, obviously you do a hell of a lot of other things, and I just wanted to kind of get a bit of love for I see you do some things with the UK Dukes. Just want to give a bit more exposure to what that's all about, how you got into it and what it aims to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably everyone's number one question is, what is the UK Dukes? Essentially, we use American football as a tool to get people active and engaged with the sport. But we do schools programs. So, we'll go in and we'll teach the teachers how to deliver American football, flag football, non-contact. We put on camps and clinics. We've just recently worked on a basically like a flag football app in in partnership with Russell Wilson in the States and NFL Flag, which has been pretty cool for us, pretty crazy, just creating a curriculum. But I mean, my colleague Kenny Bello is the brains behind it all, for sure. You know, he started it by doing trick catches. He's got these amazing ways of catching the football. And unfortunately, I have to give him credit for teaching me how to catch a football. So, but yeah, you know, I think we just try and get as many people engaged through sport. And we've been really fortunate to be able to travel the world doing what we love. And we want to continue to do that and get more people to fall in love with flag football. And hopefully, you know, we've got a really invested interest into flag football itself, just because of the opportunities that it now presents and how so many people can get involved with the sport. It kind of removes a lot of the barriers in terms of understanding the start and stop nature of it. There's less rules, less people, and it's just really quick paced. And obviously you don't need much equipment. So it's a lot more affordable for everyone, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the equivalent of the jumpers for goalposts, isn't it, for soccer, so to speak? But yeah, I would love. I mean, being a one man band on the Britball team here at the 14 yards, I'd love to be able to give more exposure to the flag game. But I look at just like the list of teams and just what goes on in flag. It's just like I haven't. It would have to be a full-time job essentially. So I will try. I will endeavour as time goes on. But Phoebe, also, last question for you. I also noticed last year that you were able to get onto the NFL overtime couch on Sky Sports. How was that being on telly and kind of being under the spotlight?
Yeah, I mean, I loved it just because you get to just talk about football, and in a time that we were all desperately looking for football, it was great to be a part of that. You know, being reunited with Jeff Reinbold, who I've worked with a few times in the past, he's wonderful. You know, and it's just exciting to see what, you know, not just Sky or BBC, but what everyone's trying to do to grow the sport, bring the NFL into people's homes. So it just makes it so much closer, and it makes it something that people can actually start to really buy into and understand when it's actually put in front of them more. So yeah, I mean, I felt so lucky to be able to be on the show and can hope to continue it again this year. I mean, the host of it, Hannah Wilkes, is wonderful. So yeah, it's a very cool experience and definitely one I hope to keep going.
Laura, do you fancy a bit of a TV airtime in the future at some point?
I don't think I've got a face for telly, but Phoebe will tell me.
It's all about the swag. It's all about the swag. You just got to.
Exactly.
I mean, look at my face. My face is on the screen, and you say you'll be more than all right.
If I can wear my bucket hat, I'll do it.
Yeah, that's official.
Look forward to seeing that at some point in the future. Okay, cool. Before we get out of here, then Phoebe and Laura, we'll get you obviously to give you socials and say if anyone, any females that are watching and listening and have been inspired or want to just kind of know a bit more about the sport and how to get involved. Just maybe want to give out your socials or how people can contact you if they want more information. Laura, start with you.
So I'm quite big with Instagram. I think it's the best thing ever, if I'm honest. So my Instagram handle is @die61, but 61 written in words. And yeah, follow me if you want to. It's random gym stuff, my dog, my wife, and a lot of football. But just for anyone that's thinking of doing it, like I can't stress enough that even if you go back on my Instagram to just before I found football, you can see that the life that I was leading then. And then my first photo of, rookie day, the Instagram has completely changed. Now, I'll never change the history of my Instagram, because I need to keep that there, because I feel like you've always got to look back to see how far you've come, which is why I always say to anyone who's ever injured, I don't care whether you're whether you play men's ball or women's ball, whatever, you've got to take photos of your progress. Otherwise you're still going to think it sucks 6 months later, and really it doesn't suck that bad. But I do think, like, me and Phoebe are quite active on Instagram, especially Phoebe, because she's got so much to post about. So I know it can be hard to keep up, but we are a really friendly community. So I can guarantee you there'll be a team near you. If not, I'll find you one. I know that there's a lot of women actually playing men's ball at the moment because they're actually so far away from women's teams. Get in touch and let's see what we can do. I found a player playing for Lancs Wolverines, the other week for the men's team. And I was like, where? She was like, I've been playing for 3 years. I was like, I've never met you. Why? So just don't be afraid to speak to us. Like I was terrified speaking to Phoebe the first time, we talked, but now I couldn't imagine a football career without her. So, just put yourself out there. That's the key message that I've been taking away from everything. If you don't put yourself out there, and if you get it wrong, say, I got it wrong, my bad, it's on me, and don't do it wrong next time. Everyone gets one.
Everyone gets one, according to Spider-Man. Phoebe, how again? I was flicking through your Instagram earlier. I think it was a congratulations, or I think you had a marriage in the family. Is that correct? I'm not an Instagram person.
Yeah. So, well, definitely echoing what Di said, and actually, the girl who just got married was our first Team GB captain. So,
okay,
it was very cool.
Football
yeah,
family.
very cool.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
So no, it was great to be at her wedding. But yeah, you can reach me on anywhere. Phoebe Schecter on Twitter. It's Phoebe S_PT. But definitely everything that Di said. I mean, I think all of us seem to have this way of football just kind of finds us, and just follow that sign, right? Just if it kind of twitches in your head and you're like, that's kind of odd that this is happening and now this is happening, just go with it. Don't be afraid. But we're a really open community. We want to help each other as much as possible. And even if you don't want to necessarily be a player, there are so many roles. You can be a coach, you can be an official, you can be admin, the list goes on and on and on. So we're just one big family. We want to just have a great time. And it's a pretty cool sport with a great bunch of people to get involved with.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if there are any people out there that want to be a coach or want to be official, you can sign up to our Flying the Flag scheme like Laura did, and you can embark on wherever you want to go. We can try and help you. So make sure you head over to full10yards.com and follow the Britball kind of menu bar and sign up to that scheme there, because if we pick you, we will pay for your course. We can get you qualified in level 1. We are still working our way through some of the people that are still registered on that. We will get to you, we promise. But anyone is looking forward to the NFL season that is coming up very shortly indeed. If you want to get all ready for the NFL season, we have created an NFL guide over 400 pages long. It's got all 32 teams covered. It's got a nice little article on there about women in the sport as well. So I say, if you want to buy that, I think it's $4.99, but if you use the code YARD, you get £1 off. And I say every single penny that goes from themselves goes into Flying the Flag scheme to help people like Laura and achieve their coaching, or if you want to be official out there, their officiating ambitions. But pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much to Phoebe and Laura for joining us. We'll be back a bit later in the week with the week 11 preview for the men's adult contact. And then next week hopefully we'll have another podcast as well, just giving a bit more airtime to some teams or to some people that don't normally hit the airwaves. So hopefully you can join us for that when we do it all again for